Alright, let's finally talk about one of the most confusing systems in this entire game. I'm not gonna lie, I procrastinated so hard with this one because it's such an annoying thing to have to explain. Inheritance can be so convoluted and so full of RNG, it's ridiculous. Nonetheless, in this video, I'll explain its basics and essential parts, and I'll do my best to explain to you guys in a way that's easy to understand. Forgive me if it still ends up being confusing. So what is inheritance? Inheritance is a system that happens during training where the Uma you're currently training inherits certain things from other Umas, like skills or stats for example. These Umas are chosen at the start of training and they'll work as the parents, while the training Uma will be the child. The parents also have their own parents who will be the grandparents of the child. Now, for the child to actually inherit anything, the parents and grandparents need something called factors. And you can get these factors every time you finish training with one of your Umas, in which you'll randomly receive factors ranging from 1 star to 3 stars. Factors also come in 4 different categories. There are blue factors, pink factors, green factors, and finally, white factors. They can all give you a variety of different things, so let's break down each of them and see how they actually work. Blue factors, and probably the most important of them all, will increase one of your main stats. As in it will increase either speed, stamina, power, guts, or wit. You can only have one blue factor per Uma. Ideally, you'd get a 3-star factor to get the most amount of stats. Usually, I go for a speed factor to get the most amount of speed as possible, but something like power could also be useful since you already focus a lot on speed during training. Pink factors will increase one of your aptitudes, those being for either the field, distance, or strategy. If you don't know what these are, please refer to my beginner's guide for characters, but these basically refer to where your Uma performs the best. Just like the blue factor, there can only be one pink factor per Uma, and it can be any of these things listed on screen. Pink factors are useful when you want to make an Uma reach S rank in one of the aptitudes, like reaching S rank on Runner for example, which will of course improve their performance during races. Pink factors can also be useful if you want to make an Uma go from E to A rank in one of their aptitudes, like for example making someone who has E on short distance races have an A afterwards, making it possible to use this horse in a short distance race when before they couldn't. If you just want to go from A to S rank, this factor doesn't actually need that many stars, but if you want to go from E to A rank like I mentioned before, you will need a lot of your parents and grandparents with 3-star factors for the aptitude you want to increase. Alright, moving on to green factors, these are the easiest ones to understand. Green factors are just the character's unique ability, and the weaker version of it can be inherited by the child. Having more stars on this factor will just increase the hint level after inheriting. This factor will actually not show up if you're training an Uma that does not have at least 3 stars, so be sure to remember that. And finally, the white factors. As if this whole thing wasn't already confusing enough, white factors are divided into 2 categories: skill factors and race factors. Skill factors are pretty straightforward. They're factors for the skills you got on your Uma after finishing your training, but race factors are a bit different. These factors can be obtained if the parent has won G1 races. There are a variety of different race factors, and they usually give you either a skill and a stat boost, or just give you some stat boost instead. Getting more stars in these factors will increase the hint level for the skills, or increase the amount of stats you actually get. And that is everything you need to know about factors. But we're not done yet. There's still more to talk about, and hopefully you're still with me. I know there's been a lot of information so far, but we're almost done. There are only 2 more things to talk about: compatibility and inheritance events. Compatibility can affect a buttload of different things. There's no point in going into detail with all of those things. You can just think of it as a way to get more stats during inheritance events. So ideally, you'd choose parents with good compatibility. Compatibility also has 3 levels. You can see them with that symbol on the top right corner of your screen, with the triangle being the lowest level and the double circle being the highest level. And now finally, let's talk about the inheritance events. These are where the child, aka the character you're training, will actually inherit things from the parents. There are a total of 3 different events, one at the start of training and 2 others during the actual training. The first one will be different from the other 2, and it will increase your stats and aptitudes according to the blue and pink factors from your parents and grandparents. You can get at most 126 stats from the blue factors, so 21 times 6, 2 parents and 4 grandparents, giving you 126. You'll also inherit the unique skill from the parents, along with their hint level depending on the number of stars the green factors actually have. As for the other 2 events, these will give you extra stats from the blue factors and will randomly give you skills from the white factors your grandparents and parents have. It's also during these events where your aptitude can go from A to S rank, but there's also no guarantee that this will actually happen. It is completely completely random. Also, the chance of inheriting anything from the grandparents is lower. And of course, you'll get better results with a higher compatibility level. There's also a chance of getting a gold inheritance event. This will just give you better results in general, but at the end of the day, everything the child gets is still very random. Okay, we're almost done with this godforsaken guide. I know I said there's only 2 more things to talk about, but well, you know what, I lied. There's actually 1 more thing to talk about, which is, of course, we still need to go over how to actually get these factors. Just like I mentioned before, at the end of a training run, the Uma you're training gets factors. She'll get 1 blue, 1 pink, 1 green, and a random number of white factors of the skill that she has. Something worth remembering is how you actually need at least 600 of a 1 stat to get a blue 3-star factor of that stat. For example, if you want a 3-star speed factor, you need to have at least 600 speed on your Uma. Granted, the chances of getting a 3-star factor are still very low, but it will get slightly higher if you reach 1100 of the same stat. And with that, we finally reached the end of this video. I know it was a longer one and probably kinda confusing, but I'm sure with time, all of this will become somewhat easier to understand. In any case, that's been it from me. I hope everyone enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all in the next one.